Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine yesterday, and I came to the assumption that most people don't want to hear what I'm about to say. And even some preppers don't want to hear what I'm about to say. See, I know some people that know what's going on, but they decide not to be prepared. And they say, man, I just wish that the crash would happen right now. Just let it happen, let it be over with so that we can, get on with our lives. And there's some preppers out there that want the same thing. They just want the crash to happen. They want the societal collapse, the crash of the stock market, whatever it is, to happen so that we can go on with our lives. Well, for those people that want the crash to happen right now, I have good news and I have bad news. We are currently going through a crash. It's just a crash in slow motion. And this crash is going to last a very long time. I'm going to show you a chart here in a few minutes of a crash that we had here in the United States that took an entire generation for it to fix itself. And I would even say that it took more than a generation. But we'll get on with that here in a minute. But this crash, ladies and gentlemen, is going to last more than a decade. I feel that we are in the middle of an era of crisis. We are in the middle of it right now, and it's not going to be over for another decade and a half. And once it's over, it may take another generation before we are at the level that we were before the crash started. Now, I'm not only talking about the stock market crash. I'm talking about our society, our societal collapse, ladies and gentlemen, because right now all you have to do is look around. Look around what's going on in the world. I mean, society is at a brink. However, we are not at the point, in my opinion, that it takes for us to make a difference. It's going to take so much pain for us to be in that we will have to forget our differences as we the people. Right now, we the people have so many differences, and we have such different ideologies that we refuse to cooperate with each other and fight the real enemy, which is what? It's tyranny. It is those, ladies and gentlemen, that want to control everything that we do. Well, it's going to take more pain, ladies and gentlemen, because until we reach that pinnacle, until we reach that apex where the people are so fed up, no matter where you come from, no matter what your ideology is, no matter who you call your God, who you call your husband, your wife, it doesn't matter. It's going to take so much pain before we come together as one to fight the real enemy that it still has a long way to go before that happens. How can we fix this? How can we prepare for something that's going to take so long to evolve into what will be the final crash that we've all been waiting for, right? And we have been waiting for it because we know it's going to happen eventually. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a few things that we can do. Number one, do the same thing that you're already doing. And if you're not doing it already, you should be. You should be preparing as much as you can. Get to a point in your preparedness plan where you're just filling in the gaps. And let me tell you what, with as much preps as I have, I feel that I don't even have enough preps, that I'm not even as prepared as I wish I could be for the years that are ahead of us, because things are going to get really bad in the years that are to come before it finally gets to a point where we the people fight back. And how do we fight back, ladies and gentlemen? How can we fight back against an institution that has grown so big and powerful and mighty, such as the U.S. government and other governments around the world? How can we fight back against something like that? Well, let me tell you what. The government, when you take everyone that the government has, it doesn't matter how many airplanes or, MRAPs they have. It doesn't matter. What matters is the people. And there's nearly not enough people in the government to be effective against us, we the people. There will come a day when things are so bad that we're like, what else do we have to lose? And people will come together to fight this monster that we've created over the last several decades or so. Look at some of the people in Canada right now. They're taking away their bank accounts. They're confiscating their trucks. They're trying to take their children. They're trying to tell them what to do with every second of every day of their lives. And some people have had enough. They're saying, no, I don't care. I have nothing else. I don't have a job. I don't have a bank account. They took away my livelihood. They're taking away my truck. I have nothing else. Why wouldn't I continue to fight? And that is where we're going to get. We're going to get to a point where we will have no choice but to fight, because that's all that there is left to do. But that point's not today, and that point's not tomorrow. I know some people want to pick up arms right now and take control, but that, in my opinion, would be a mistake, because that would be a very quick loss. Because the people have to come together first. And how do people come together? Throughout history, you've seen people of different ideologies come together for one common ideology. And that ideology, ladies and gentlemen, is freedom. It is the one ideology that I feel is universal, that everyone shares, no matter what political party you're from, no matter what country you're from, no matter what ethnicity you are. We all share that same ideology of freedom, no matter what religion you are. We all want to be free. And government, ladies and gentlemen, is nothing but force. It is the opposite of what freedom is. But it's not today that it's going to happen. So what can we do in order to prepare for the inevitable? Well, in addition of stocking up and getting good at skills, make sure that you build communities. Make sure that you build a foundation to what you already have. And what do I mean by that? Build an alternate foundation to your foundation already. So those things that you rely on today, make sure that you have alternate foundations for those things. A good example that I can share with you is, when I built my house, I built a pillar foundation. So there's a whole bunch of pads under my house with pillars on them, and that's what holds my house up. Well, I was thinking one day, you know what? I want to earthquake-proof my house. And I was like, how can I do that? And I was like, well, I can always build an alternate foundation, a separate foundation than the one that I have now, that can snug up against all of the floor joists, just in case something happens where my main foundation fails or shifts. My secondary foundation can go ahead and pick up the slack. So we can build those foundations now and have them in the back burner, and have community that can share in you with those foundations. For example, if you have a community of like-minded people that you live around and that you share your experiences with, then you all can have diversified foundations, meaning that each of you can have a specialty that you can do that will benefit the group as a whole. I remember reading somewhere, I'm not sure if it was a book or a story, but the gentleman said that was reading it, or that was narrating it, said that if you have a good skill, then you will be fed. You will be able to stay fed if you have a good skill that other people need. Those are the things that we have to look for now, so that we can build up that foundation, so that we can build up that alternate foundation, so that when the foundation that we count on today, which is our society in general, our economy in general, so when that foundation fails, we can go and shift over to our alternate foundation in an instant. And we can continue to live and continue to stay strong during the crisis. And the crisis is coming. I wanted to show you an example really quick. All right, I'm going to take it to the charts, because I want to show you what I think it is that we have started experiencing here lately. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. This is a chart, and what I did was I just simplified it. I just left one line on it that shows the price of the Dow Jones, the stock market, back in 1929. Okay, so if we go over here, you'll see that right here, this little spot right here is August 1929. That was the height of the market. All right, that was the height of the market back in August of 1929, before they started to crash. But take a look at this. Here's the bottom of the market. Right? Here's the bottom of the market for that era. The bottom of the market was in June of 1932. So roughly 3 years. Right? Roughly 3 years. Well, in 1929, at the height of the market, it was 382 points. Okay? 382 points. And at the bottom, it was 38 points. That is a 90% drop. But it took 3 years for it to happen. It didn't happen in one day or 1 month. It took 3 years for it to happen. I believe that that is what we are experiencing now. And I'll go ahead and show you an updated view of the Dow, all right, as it is today, and what it looks like, and what I feel the top was, and that we're never going to see those numbers again for a generation, if not more. Okay, but one thing that's even more important is I want you to go ahead and take a look at this line. This is a horizontal line, and it takes all the way from the top of the market when it started to crash. It takes all the way to 1954. So roughly, I don't know, 30 years, roughly 26 years. Took about 25, 26 years before the market recovered to the same level that it was back when it was at the top before it started to crash. So 25, 26 years, that's a generation. And I would say that it took even longer for the market to recover, because this is in nominal terms. This does not cover all of the purchasing power that was lost to the currency between this day here and this day here when it started. So I would say that it took longer than a generation for the market to recover when you take into consideration the purchasing power of the dollar that it lost between this period and this period. Now let me go ahead and show you what it's going to look like here in the present. Alright, so this is where we are today. As you can see here, right now the Dow is at about 33,132 points. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and you can see that this was the top right here. The top was roughly 36,300 points. Now, if you want to take a look and see where we may go, should we go through the same kind of a crash that we did back in the late 20s. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. A 90% drop from the top of this market is 3,600 points. Am I saying this is going to happen today or tomorrow? No, I don't think so. But I think that we will hit those lows eventually. Why is that? Because we are at the end of the macro business cycle. A business cycle that is at the macro level lasts between 80 to 100 years. And we are right there. A micro business cycle lasts around 8 to 10 years. So usually almost every 8 to 10 years or so we have a recession of one kind or another, be it a long one or a short one. About every 80 to 100 years we have a major crash. Right? And the reason we're having this major crash, ladies and gentlemen, is because of all of the debt that there is in the market. All of the debt that there is in the economy. There's not enough labor to cover all that debt. Same thing that happened back in 1929. There was more debt, all right, in the economy in 1929 because people were borrowing so much money on leverage to buy stocks, and they were so over leveraged that there was not enough labor to be able to pay back that debt. So everything crashed. All right, that's just a very simplified way of putting it. I think there's a lot of other things behind that. You know, like the federal government was actually holding back money from the economy so that the market can crash. Just like our Federal Reserve now is saying that they want to make the market crash. They want to have a controlled crash. It's almost identical, the things that are happening now that happened back then, if you take a look at them side by side. But we're looking at a world of 3,000 Dow, 3,600 Dow. And it's going to happen over the next several years. It's not going to happen all at once. But the thing is it's the time before the bottom and when we recover. That's going to be the time, ladies and gentlemen. That span of time is going to be the time that we have to prepare for. Right? Because we know the crash is coming. We have to prepare for what happens after we hit a bottom and society is at its lowest. That is the time that we're going to need in order to rebuild our economy, in order to rebuild our nation to be a better nation than what it is now. One that is just and fair and follows the rule of law. And ladies and gentlemen, community, in my opinion, is the most important thing. I mean, take a look at some of the videos from, like, I don't know, from the Sahara or, you know, Africa, you know, the places where you have a lot of wild animals with big predators like lions and tigers and cheetahs and things like that. You never see a lion or a tiger or a cheetah, that's on the hunt, you never see them really go for a target of opportunity that's not hurt, that's not alone, that's not vulnerable in one way or another, because maybe it's a little baby, or maybe it's an elephant or a rhino or something like that that's hurt, that's away from its herd. You always see them go for those first. You don't really see them attack a herd unless they're really, really desperate. Now, what you want to do is you want to compare that tiger to that entity that we all love that is going to come and try to take away our freedoms when society is at its lowest point. If we have community, if we are strong, if we stick together, there's no possible way that they can come and take it from us. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the war that we are headed into, the war that has begun, it's already started. It's just in slow motion. It is going to be a war of attrition. It is going to be a war where people that love liberty are going to say, I have nothing left to lose. So I'm going to keep fighting either until we win or we die. That's going to be the war. Because as I've stated several times before, there's one ideology in the entire world that every single person shares. And that is freedom. That is the ideology of being free.